Richmond, California. Richmond/РТМНD/ is a city in western Contra Costa County, California, United States. The city was incorporated on August 7, 1905. Located in the East Bay region of the San Francisco Bay Area, Richmond borders the cities of San Pablo, Albany, El Cerrito and Pinole in addition to the unincorporated communities of North Richmond, Hasford Heights, Kensington, El Sobrante, Bayview-Montalvin Manor, Terra Hills, and East Richmond Heights, and for a short distance San Francisco on Red Rock Island in the San Francisco Bay. Richmond is one of two cities, the other being San Rafael, California, that sits on the shores of San Francisco Bay and San Pablo Bay simultaneously. Under the McLaughlin administration, Richmond was the largest city in the United States served by a Green Party mayor. As of the 2010 U.S. Census, the city's population is at 103,710, making it the second largest city in the United States named Richmond. The largest, Richmond, Virginia, is the namesake of the California city. History. The Ohlone were the first inhabitants of the Richmond area, settling an estimated 5,000 years ago. They spoke the Chochenyo language, and subsisted as hunter-gatherers and harvesters. The name Richmond appears to predate actual incorporation by more than 50 years. Edmund Randolph, originally from Richmond, Virginia, represented the city of San Francisco when California's first legislature met in San Jose in December 1849, and he became state assemblyman from San Francisco. His loyalty to the town of his birth caused him to persuade a federal surveying party mapping the San Francisco Bay to place the names Point Richmond and Richmond on an 1854 geodetic coast map, which was the geodetic map at the terminal selected by the San Francisco and San Joaquin Valley Railroad, and by 1899 maps made by the railroad carried the name Point Richmond Avenue, designating a county road that later became Barrett Avenue, a central street in Richmond. The Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad had its terminus at Richmond. The first post office opened in 1900. Richmond was founded and incorporated in 1905, carved out of Rancho San Pablo, from which the nearby town of San Pablo inherited its name. Until the enactment of Prohibition in 1919, the city had the largest winery in the world. The small abandoned village of Winehaven remains fenced off along Western Drive in the Point Malate area. Starting in 1917, and continuing through the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan was active in the city. In 1930, the Ford Motor Company opened an assembly plant called Richmond Assembly Plant, which moved to Milpitas in 1956. The old Ford plant has been a National Historic Place since 1988. And in 2004 was purchased by developer Eddie Orton and has been converted into an events center, Ford Point building the Craneway. The city was a small town at that time, until the onset of World War II brought a rush of migrants and a boom in the industrial sector. Standard Oil set up operations here in 1901, including what is now the Chevron Richmond Refinery and Tank Farm, which are still operated by Chevron. There is a pier into San Francisco Bay south of Point Malate for oil tankers. The western terminus of the Santa Fe Railroad was established in Richmond with ferry connections at Ferry Point in the Brickyard Cove area of Point Richmond to San Francisco. At the outset of World War II, the 4 Richmond shipyards were built along the Richmond waterfront, employing thousands of workers, many recruited from all over the United States, including many African Americans and women entering the workforce for the first time. Many of these workers lived in specially constructed houses scattered throughout the San Francisco Bay Area, including Richmond, Berkeley, and Albany. A specially built rail line, the Shipyard Railway, transported workers to the shipyards. Kaiser's Richmond shipyards built 747 Victory and Liberty ships for the war effort, more than any other site in the U.S. The city broke many records and even built one Liberty ship in a record 5 days. On average, the yards could build a ship in 30 days. The medical system established for the shipyard workers at the Richmond Field Hospital eventually became today's Kaiser Permanente HMO. It remained in operation until 1993 when it was replaced by the modern Richmond Medical Center Hospital, that has subsequently expanded to a large multiple-building campus. Point Richmond was originally the commercial hub of the city, but a new downtown arose in the center of the city. It was populated by many department stores such as Cress, J.C. Penney, Sears, Macy's, and Woolworths. During the war the population increased dramatically and peaked at around 120,000 by the end of the war. Once the war ended, the shipyard workers were no longer needed, beginning a decades-long population decline. The census listed 99,545 residents in 1950. By 1960 much of the temporary housing built for the shipyard workers was torn down, and the population dropped to about 71,000. Many of the people who moved to Richmond were black and came from the Midwest and South. Most of the white men were overseas at war, and this opened up new opportunities for ethnic minorities and women. This era also brought with it the innovation of daycare for children, as a few women could care for several dozen women's children, while most of the mothers went off to work in the factories and shipyards. In the 1970s the Hilltop area, including a large shopping mall, was developed in the northern suburbs of the city. This further depressed the downtown area as it drew away retail clients and tenants. In the late 1990s and early 2000s the Richmond Parkway was built along the western industrial and northwestern parkland of the city, connecting Interstates 80 and 580. In the early 1900s, the Santa Fe Railroad established a major rail yard adjacent to Point Richmond. The railroad constructed a tunnel through the Potrero-San Pablo Ridge to run a track from their yard to a ferry landing from which freight cars could be transshipped to San Francisco. Where this track crosses the main street in Point Richmond, there remain two of the last operational wigwag grade crossing signals in the United States, and the only surviving examples of the upside-down type. The wigwag is an antiquated type of railroad crossing signal which was phased out in the 1970s and 80s across the country. There was controversy in 2005 when the State Transportation Authority ordered the BNSF Railroad Company to upgrade the railroad crossing signals. A compromise was achieved that included installing new modern crossing gates, red lights, and bells while not removing, but simply shutting off the historic ones and preserving their functionality for special events. The Pullman Company also established a major facility in Richmond in the early 20th century. The facility connected with both the Santa Fe and Southern Pacific and serviced their passenger coach equipment. The Pullman Company was a large employer of African American men, who worked mainly as porters on the Pullman cars. Many of them settled in the East Bay, from Richmond to Oakland, prior to World War II. Martin Luther King, Jr. had planned to visit Richmond just prior to his assassination. In 2006 the city celebrated its centennial. This coincided with the repaving and streetscaping project of McDonald Avenue. The city's old rundown commercial district along McDonald has been designated the city's Main Street District by the state of California. This has led to funding of improvements in the form of state grants. Geography. Richmond is located at 37°5609 and 122°2052 W/37.93583° and 122.34778° W/37.93583, -122.34778. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 52.5 square miles, 136 square kilometers, of which 30.1 square miles, 78 square kilometers, is land and 22.4 square miles, 58 square kilometers, 42.71%, is water. The city sits on 32 miles, 51 kilometers, of waterfront, more than any other city in the Bay Area. The city borders San Francisco Bay to the southwest and San Pablo Bay to the northwest, and includes Brooks Island and the Brother Islands entirely, and half of Red Rock Island. There are several cities and unincorporated communities surrounding or bordering Richmond. To the south is the city of Albany, which is in Alameda County, and the city of El Cerrito. The unincorporated communities of East Richmond Heights, Rollingwood, Hasford Heights, and El Sobrante lie to the east. North Richmond to the west and San Pablo to the east are almost entirely surrounded by Richmond's city limits. To the north, Richmond borders the city of Pinole and the unincorporated areas of Bayview-Montalvin Manor, Hilltop Green, Terra Hills. Richmond borders Alameda, San Francisco, and Marin counties in the Bay and Red Rock Island. The city is within the 94,801, 94,803, 94,804, 94,805, and 94,806 zip codes. Climate. Richmond, like much of the coastal East Bay, enjoys a very mild Mediterranean climate year-round. The climate is slightly warmer than the coastal areas of San Francisco, the Peninsula, and Marin County. It is however more temperate than areas further inland. The average highs range from 57 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 14 to 23 degrees Celsius, and the lows between 43 to 56 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 to 13 degrees Celsius, year-round. Richmond usually enjoys an Indian summer, and September is, on average, the warmest month. January is on average the coldest month. The highest recorded temperature in Richmond was 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius, in September 1971, while the coldest was 24 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees C, in January 1990. The rainy season begins in late October and ends in April with some showers in May. Most of the rain occurs during stronger storms which occur between November and March and drop 3.34.91 inches, 84.125 mm, of rain per month. January and February are the rainiest months. Like most of the Bay Area, Richmond is made up of several microclimates. Southern parts of the city and the ridges receive more fog than northern areas. Summer temperatures are higher in inland areas, where the moderating influence of San Francisco Bay is lessened. The average wind speed is 6.9 miles per hour, 10-14 km/h, with stronger winds from March through August. The strongest winds are in June. The city also enjoys more than 80% sunshine 7 months out of the year and 10 with 60% or more. December and January are the darkest months with about 45% average brightness. The city experiences virtually no snowfall, and brief hail annually. The city is very humid in the morning with the lowest humidity being in the high 70% range. This may be due to San Francisco Bay's notorious fog and also the fact that a majority of Richmond lies on a flat coastal plain predominantly consisting of reclaimed tidal marshes, intertidal flats, and seep. Morning humidity is 75% to 92% year-round, afternoon humidity is more variable. This percentage is in the high 20s to mid-30s%. May through October, the summer months, and climbs or descends through 40% to 70% during the winter. Environment. Richmond is home to many species of animals. Canada geese visit the city on their annual migrations. Harbor seals live in the Castro Rocks, and pigeons and gulls populate the sidewalks and parking lots. Tadpoles and frogs can be found in the local creeks and vernal pools. Field mice and lizards are also found. Herons and egrets nest in protected areas on Brooks Island. Deer, falcons, raccoons, ducks, foxes, owls, and mountain lions live in Wildcat Canyon and Point Pinole regional shoreline. A license is needed for fishing on the waterfront or city waters but not on the piers, where in addition to crabs, sturgeon are plentiful and manta rays may also be found. Striped bass, bat rays, leopard sharks, surf perch, jack smelt, sturgeon, white croaker, and flounders are also found. Richmond is one of the few places where you can find the rare Olympia oyster on the west coast, in the polluted waters along the refinery's shoreline. Rainbow trout have recently returned to San Pablo and Wildcat Creeks. Red-tailed hawks patrol the skies. Monarch butterflies migrate through the city on their journey between Mexico and Canada. Wildcat Marsh has 2 ponds where Canada geese often rest, and is also the home of the endangered salt marsh harvest mouse and California clapper rail. Another endangered species in the city is the Santa Cruz tarweed, which survives alongside Interstate 80. Wildcat Canyon also hosts falcons and vultures. Threatened black rails also live in the city's marshes. After a baby gray whale was beached on the Point Richmond shore in May 2007, its rotting corpse became bothersome to neighbors. It took a while to remove it since various agencies argued over which would have to pay for it. It ended up costing $18,000. Richmond is also home to one of the last pristine moist grassland habitats in the entire Bay Area at the former campus Bayview Berkeley Field Station near Meeker Slough. Richmond residents, however, have limited access to other environmental benefits. Because of the refineries located in Richmond, air quality is particularly low, and residents are especially at risk of air pollution-related health issues. In 2006 the city was sued by an environmental group for dumping raw sewage into the bay. Council member Tom Butt was very vocal on the subject, accusing the city council of turning a blind eye to the problem. Mayor McLaughlin has set a goal of installing 5 megawatts of solar photovoltaic generation in Richmond. Crime. The city has in the past suffered from a high crime rate. At one point, the City Council requested a declaration of a state of emergency and asked for the intervention of the Contra Costa County Sheriff and the California Highway Patrol. Murder, vehicle theft, and larceny rates remain high, although they tend to be concentrated in the Iron Triangle and adjacent unincorporated North Richmond, which is outside the jurisdiction of the Richmond Police Department. Despite the city making extreme headway in crime reduction and prevention, Richmond received widespread attention in 2009 when a girl was gang raped at a homecoming dance at Richmond High School. In 2007, Richmond opened a program to prevent gun violence, the Office of Neighborhood Safety. The program collects information and analyzes public records to determine the 50 people in Richmond most likely to shoot someone and to be shot themselves. It then offers selected individuals a spot in a program that includes a stipend to turn their lives around. Over an 18-month period, if the men demonstrate better behavior, ONS offers them up to $1,000 a month in cash, plus opportunities to travel beyond Richmond. In 2004, Richmond was ranked the 12th most dangerous city in America. Those rankings have changed, and Richmond is no longer ranked as a most dangerous city in either California or the United States. This is in large part due to the efforts of Police Chief Chris Magnus, who established community policing, which involves police officers engaging with affected high-crime communities. Disasters. Richmond lies in the volatile California region that has a potential for devastating earthquakes. Many buildings were damaged in the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. The city has also had at least one minor tornado. The Chevron Richmond refinery often releases gases and had many highly noted chemical leaks in the 1990s. The company has been fined thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. The chemicals most often released are chlorine and sulfur trioxide. In a July 26, 1993, industrial accident, a General Chemical Company rail tanker car containing oleum overheated and exploded in the General Chemical rail yard. This resulted in a 17-mile, 27 kilometers, area contaminated with the poisonous gas, and led to 25,000 people landing in the hospital. The incident led to lawsuits, and has been referred to as a mini Bhopal. The city's shoreline and wildlife were seriously affected by the 2007 San Francisco Bay oil spill. Beaches and shoreline were closed, but later reopened. Keller Beach was closed to public access for swimmers. On April 15, 2010, a sinkhole, roughly 30 feet, 9.1 m, deep, appeared at the intersection of El Portal Drive and Via Verde. Although no one was hurt, a car fell into the sinkhole. On August 6, 2012, a fire erupted in the Chevron refinery, resulting in 15,000 residents in the surrounding area seeking medical treatment. There are 17 emergency warning sirens in the city. They are tested every Wednesday and are usually used to warn of toxic chemical releases from the Chevron Richmond refinery. Demographics. 2010. The 2010 United States Census reported that Richmond had a population of 103,701. The population density was 1,976.0 inhabitants per square mile, 762.9/km2. The racial makeup of Richmond was 32,590, 31.4%. White, 27,542, 26.6%. African American, 662, 0.6%. Native American, 13,984, 13.5%. Asian, 4.0%. Chinese, 3.5%. Filipino, 1.6%. Laotian, 1.2%. Indian, 0.7%. Vietnamese, 0.6%. Japanese, 0.4%. Korean, 0.2%. Pakistani, 0.1%. Thai, 537, 0.5%. Pacific Islander, 22,573, 21.8%, from other races, and 5,813, 5.6%, from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 40,921 persons, 39.5%. Among the Hispanic population, 27.3% were of Mexican origin, 4.7% Salvadoran, 1.7% Guatemalan, and 1.2% Nicaraguan heritage. The census reported that 102,118 people, 98.5% of the population, lived in households, 670, 0.6%, lived in non-institutionalized group quarters, and 913, 0.9%, were institutionalized. There were 36,093 households, out of which 13,487, 37.4%, had children under the age of 18 living in them, 14,502, 40.2%, were opposite-sex married couples living together, 6,931, 19.2%, had a female householder with no husband present, 2,585, 7.2%, had a male householder with no wife present. There were 2,538, 7.0%, unmarried opposite-sex partnerships, and 427, 1.2%, same-sex married couples or partnerships. 9,546 households, 26.4%, were made up of individuals, and 2,707, 7.5%, had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.83. There were 24,018 families, 66.5% of all households. The average family size was 3.43. The age distribution of the population shows 25,800 people, 24.9%, under the age of 18, 10,364 people, 10.0%, aged 18 to 24, 30,846 people, 29.7%, aged 25 to 44, 26,109 people, 25.2%, aged 45 to 64, and 10,582 people, 10.2%, who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 34.8 years. For every 100 females, there were 94.8 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 92.0 males. There were 39,328 housing units at an average density of 749.4 per square mile, 289.3/km2, of which 36,093 were occupied, of which 18,659, 51.7%, were owner-occupied, and 17,434, 48.3%, were occupied by renters. The homeowner vacancy rate was 2.5%, the rental vacancy rate was 8.1%. 52,683 people, 50.8% of the population, lived in owner-occupied housing units, and 49,435 people, 47.7%, lived in rented housing. The African American population in Richmond was 22% African American as of 2015, while it was 44% African American in 1990. 2000. As of the census of 2000, there were 99,216 people, 34,625 households, and 23,025 families in the city. The population density was 3,309.5 inhabitants per square mile, 1,277.8/km2. There were 36,044 housing units at an average density of 1,202.3 per square mile, 464.2/km2. The racial makeup of the city was 36.06% Black or African American, 21.36% white, 0.64% Native American, 12.29% Asian, 0.50% Pacific Islander, 13.86% from other races, and 5.27% from two or more races. 26.53% of the population were Hispanic or Latino, of any race. Of the 34,625 households, 33.7% had children under the age of 18 living with them, 40.5% were married couples living together, 20.1% had a female householder with no husband present, and 33.5% were non-families. 26.2% of all households were made up of individuals and 7.4% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.82 and the average family size was 3.44. In the city, the age distribution of the population shows 27.7% under the age of 18, 9.9% from 18 to 24, 31.4% from 25 to 44, 21.2% from 45 to 64, and 9.9% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 33 years. For every 100 females, there were 94.6 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 91.2 males. The median income for a household in the city was $44,210, and the median income for a family was $46,659. Males had a median income of $37,389 versus $34,204 for females. The per capita income for the city was $19,788. About 13.4% of families and 16.2% of the population were below the poverty line, including 23.1% of those under age 18 and 11.8% of those age 65 or over. 75.4% of inhabitants over the age of 25 were high school graduates, while 22.4% had bachelor's degrees, and 8.3% had a graduate or professional degree. 7.7% of the population was unemployed and those who were employed took, on average, 34.3 minutes to commute to their place of work. 33.2% of the population aged 15 and over has never married, while 46.3% is currently Wednesday. 11.1% have already divorced, 3.1% is currently separated, and 6.4% has been widowed. 20.6% of the population was born outside the U.S., of which 15.4% were born in Latin America and 8.7% in Asia. During the day the population shrinks by 6.2% due to commuting, while 23.3% of the population works within the city limits. 20.5% of the jobs in the city are in the educational, health, and social service fields, while 10.9% are professional, scientific, management, administrative, and waste disposal, and 10.4% are in retail. 7.0% of Richmonders are veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces compared with 10.9% nationally. 33.2% are foreign-born while 12.4% are nationwide. 48.1% of men and 43.2% of women are married, 55.9% and 51% of Americans are respectively. Nearly half, 46.7%, speak a language other than the English language at home. 65.3% are employed, even with the national average. The average household income is $52,794, $6,552 higher than the national average. The average family makes $57,931 while the average American household makes $55,832. The per capita income is $22,326 compared with $25,035 federally. Among Richmond residents, 64.56% residents speak English, 23.13% speak Spanish, 2.11% speak Tagalog, 1.75% speak Chinese, 1.20% speak Miao-Min, 1.12% speak Laotian, 0.72% speak Punjabi, 0.54% speak Cantonese, 0.51% speak French, 0.5% speak Vietnamese, 3.49% speak other languages, none of which represents more than half of 1% of the population. Economy. Many industries have been and are still sited in Richmond. It had a dynamite and gunpowder works, the Giant Powder Company, closed in 1960, now the site of Point Pinole Regional Shoreline, the last active whaling station in the country at Point Malate, closed in 1971, and one of the world's largest wineries, Winehaven, closed by Prohibition in 1919. During World War II, Richmond developed rapidly as a heavy industrial town, chiefly devoted to shipbuilding. Its major activity now is as a seaport, with 26 million tons of goods shipped through Port Richmond in 1993, mostly oil and petroleum products. Chevron USA has a major oil refinery in the city, with a storage capacity of 15 million barrels, 2,400 cubic meters. The Social Security Administration employs over 1,000 at its regional office and program service center in downtown Richmond. Kaiser Permanente's Richmond Medical Center Hospital in the downtown Richmond is one of the largest employers in the city. Galaxy Desserts is run and operated in the city. Vetrazzo, an award-winning green business that manufactures recycled glass countertops out of waste glass such as beer bottles and old traffic lights, is located in the refurbished Ford assembly plant. Treeskunk Productions, a video game animation studio, is based in the town. Bayview recording studios are located in the city, and have worked with artists such as Smash Mouth. Photon Films, LLC, a video production and editing studio, is located in Harborfront area along the southeast shoreline. Shopping. The Hilltop District includes Hilltop Mall that features Sears, Macy's, and Walmart department stores as anchors. Furthermore, the area is home to Hilltop Auto Mall, a 16-screen Century Theaters alongside Hilltop Plaza Shopping Center. The 23rd Street Business District has evolved into a predominantly Latino neighborhood over the last 20 years, as have the storefronts. In the downtown Richmond district, the Richmond Shopping Center was built as part of the city's Main Street revitalization efforts. It is anchored by a Foods Co. supermarket and a Walgreens pharmacy. The McDonald 80 Shopping Center is a commercial plot along the trunk route of McDonald Avenue, which has been designated the city's main street under the aforementioned program. It was once anchored by the now-defunct Montgomery Wards and a Toys R Us. Demolition of the former buildings and construction of a new shopping mall were completed in 2006, and the center is now anchored by a Target store. Richmond Annex and Southwest Annex. Big box stores already in the city include Costco in the Point Isabel area and a Home Depot, which is partially in Richmond. A controversial Kohl's department store has been proposed for Point Isabel. See Point Isabel. Redevelopment. The former Richmond shipyards were transformed starting in the late 1980s into a multi-unit residential area, Marina Bay. Starting in the early 2000s, the city began an aggressive redevelopment effort spurring ex-urban tract housing, condominiums, townhomes, a transit village, and terraced hillside subdivisions. The city also created a redevelopment agency that refurbished McDonald Avenue, funded the Metro Walk Transit Village, resurrected the McDonald 80 shopping center and created the Richmond Greenway Rails to Trails Trail and Urban Farming Project. Since 1996, new homes have increased in price by 32%, and there has been a 65.6% increase in the total amount of new dwellings built annually. Country Club Vista is a development surrounding the Richmond Country Club to the south and north. It includes suburban-style tract houses with cul-de-sac courts and small yards. Seacliff, at Point Richmond, is a development of luxury waterfront homes built on a terraced hillside. San Marcos is a series of about 10 condominium multi-story buildings between Hilltop Mall and Country Club Vista. Richmond Transit Village has been constructed in the former West parking lot and an adjacent empty lot of the combined Richmond BART and Amtrak station. The development is part of the city's downtown revitalization efforts. Richmond Cares. On September 11, 2013, the 7-member Richmond City Council, in a 4-3 vote, decided to pursue a scheme for using eminent domain to buy out mortgages. The vote was on a joint powers authority to bring more cities into the plan. However, at least 5 votes would be needed before any mortgage could actually be bought out. North Las Vegas, Nevada, and California governments including El Monte Fontana, the City of Ontario and San Bernardino County had considered such plans but decided not to pursue them. The vote made Richmond the first to accept the idea. The plan had been opposed by the vice mayor and some members of the city council, who said it would compromise the city's finances. Critics of the plan noted that the company Mortgage Resolution Partners stood to potentially profit. It would receive $4,500 from the new lenders for each refinanced mortgage for arranging the financing to purchase the original loans and for handling all legal, administrative, and refinancing operations, an amount matching what lenders are compensated for under the federal HARP loan modification program. Critics also questioned the inclusion of wealthy neighborhoods such as the area near the Richmond Country Club. The Western Contra Costa Association of Realtors hired a public relations agency and sent mass mailings warning against the scheme. Its advertising was funded, in part, by more than $70,000 from the California Association of Realtors and the National Associations of Realtors. Deutsche Bank and Wells Fargo had sued, claiming the program was unconstitutional. National Housing Law Project, Housing and Economic Rights Advocates, Bay Area Legal Aid, the Law Foundation of Silicon Valley, and the California Reinvestment Coalition opposed the suit, calling the bank's request for an injunction against the city discrimination in violation of the Fair Housing Act. Supporters of the plan include the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment and Robert Hockett, a professor of law at Cornell University. Casinos. Many casinos have been proposed for the West Contra Costa area. Point Malate would have a casino, resort, and a luxury shopping mall. Sugar Bowl Casino proposes a casino, a steakhouse, and a buffet promoted by the Pomo Tribe Scotts Valley Band near the border between North Richmond and the city of Richmond's Parchester Village, whose residents have lauded it as a boon to fighting crime by adding more of a police presence and creating jobs for shiftless youth. But residents from neighboring newly developed subdivisions along the Richmond Country Club were fervently opposed based on potential losses to property values. Casino San Pablo has already been built in neighboring San Pablo, with 2,500 slots. The projects have been the subject of much civic debate. Supporters contend that the often cash-strapped government would get a major new source of revenue, while opponents air their concerns over the ramifications, including an increase in already high crime rates, lowered property values, and worsening neighborhood quality of life. Point Malate is Kerr.